Good.
So I'm meant to address these remarks to my friend Richard, otherwise the connection may be broken because I'm trying to impress you all out there in the listening audience. But rather, Richard,
so
we were talking about how just meditating on these objects, these hyperdimensional physics machines that we are striving to build, actually incurs the universe's interest in me and causes a downstream Gnostic dispensation from these items which are up in the future, right? Nobody's ever built these machines. By definition, they're new. Okay, so by meditating on them, I'm gaining a picture through Gnostic ability of what their force components are like, the actual force elements in the resonant circuit that we're striving to build, okay, and how to leverage those, because they are basically alterations in the inertial and gravitational mass of the resonant circuit. So normally an object has one inertial mass, right? But when it's put into complex rotation, that such as we are planning to do, then there will be alterations in both the inertial and the gravitational forces expressed within the circuit. Now that ultimately could be looked at as some form of, or some waveform, some oscillation, some resonance, okay? Now how do you expect that that will affect the normal physical properties of the object in terms of its resonance? If it's a large complex hub or wheel that has moving items, moving components within it, how can we expect the overall physical properties of this resonant circuit to change? And how can we send pulses into the drive mechanism, okay, that will actually beat against those resonant functions in the oscillating resonant functions that will be set up in the larger object, can be beat against with resonances from the driving mechanism. Okay, now that driving mechanism may also even be able to pick up on feedback, torque, feedback, torsion, feedback through those elements if the coupling is correct. So not only will this machine run on its own self-sufficient electrical output, but it will also potentially have modulated force coming out of it too, modulated by the resonant functions that we choose to superimpose upon the natural functions of the system. So one of the things about free energy, my friends, is that it expresses in many different ways. There are ringing resonant circuits, like torsion fields from two coils that are in ringing resonance with one another electrically. That too is another form of resonance, but we are talking about mechanical resonance and its expression in electromotive and electromagnetic terms. So to be clear, this particular video is about how resonant functions within a circuit can be used in combination with changes in inertial and gravitational mass fields to achieve all sorts of different kinds of resonances that we've never seen before. In fact, if that accentuates the effects of inertial and gravitational variation, we may be able to cause some levity, change the overall gravitational mass of the object. And that's going to be one of the experiments that has to be done. Also, we want to see how these fields themselves may work at a distance from one another by having other machines nearby to act as other resonant members of the circuit, but they will be physically disconnected from the circuit and rather only attempting to influence the field effects and not be directly coupled to the rotating masses. But at any rate, that's taking us quite a ways out there into the world of new energy research. I grew up in a time that was very exciting because all the great names from Stefan Marinov to Robert, gosh, I'm trying to remember his last name, but Sparky Sweet and all the people around the world who were developing new energy technologies were doing so with daily, if not weekly, bulletins so that everybody could know what they were up to. And I'm wondering why we're not doing that today. I'm wondering why we don't have more and more news about the new energy developments. So because I'm not hearing them from very many quarters, I'm having to take up the baton. And Robert Adams was the name I was trying to remember, in New Zealand, who was working with some very unusual effects in his machines, where he was able to achieve, shall we say, novel forms of propulsion in a drive motor that did not involve the same electromotive resistance that you would expect in other motors. So, in other words, an over-unity motor is another form of free energy, an over-unity generator, an anti-gravity machine, any of these things. I recently threatened on Facebook that the only thing I'd be posting about pretty soon would be free energy and anti-gravity, and I'm afraid that's probably what's going to happen. Because my interest was piqued at an early age, in my teens, and I can't really give it up. I can't really let go of the idea that free energy is coming into being, and don't I want to be one of the participants in its birth? At least a midwife. Or maybe I'm actually the expecting mother. Maybe I have a free energy machine in my very womb that I have to give birth to, and I need midwives to come and help me give birth to it. Maybe that's a better picture of what's really going on. Anyway, it makes it hard for me to live in the here and now entirely because the future is so clear to me. What it must have is the help of acolytes of new energy and anti-gravity. Levity is our heritage to come.
Good. We're a couple of seconds.